There are people in
You could spend the night waiting for a Prince Charming.
Goals as you get ready to take your seat, I want to remind you of. My challenge tonight is to try to get you in here and out of here in 2 hours. That's a challenge, but I think we can do it, so we're going to work hard on it, because I know everybody's busy. It's a weekend night. Taking time for politics is the reason we're all here, because politics is important. It makes a difference in each of our lives. It changes everything that you believe in and how you were raised. So that you took the time to be here tonight, to me, is amazing that you understand the importance of it. It's not something to take lightly. And what's most important is our great military fought for those freedoms, and it's an essence of what they've done to let you have the freedom to vote and to make sure you represent the things that you believe in. And that's what this country is about. So I welcome everybody, honored guests, elected officials, everybody. We have a short program. We're going to go through our opening ceremony, and we're going to start out with the posting the colors. The Orange County Civil Air Patrol Composite Squadron 123 is given that privilege. Please stand. Next, as you remain standing, please join us for Tanya and Gina Harper, who will lead us in the national anthem.
And this evening. My name is Bill Messner. I'm the Vice Chairman of the committee. In 2013, I met Patrick Cover at the Hess Ice Rink, ice hockey coach who has volunteered thousands of hours coaching, tying skate laces, and filling water bottles. He recognized Patrick as the the Pledge of Allegiance leader onto stage at the rally in Erie, Pennsylvania. Petty Officer First Class HM1 FMF Patrick Cover, United States Navy, retired. He was born and raised in Elwood City, joined the Navy at the age, retired, back here in the community, married, Mel, and one son, Mitchell. Throughout his 20 years, multiple deployments, including global war on terrorism, Operation Denied Flight, provide promise, numerous personnel awards to include Navy Commendation Medal and the Navy and Marine Corps Achievement Medal. A true patriot and my friend, Patrick Cover.
I get the task of leading everybody in the Pledge of Allegiance. Put your hand over your heart and recite after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt Stoyer, will lead us in the invocation.
Let's pray together. Father, we are thankful. We are a grateful and thankful people this evening, Jesus. We thank that you sent your Son not to condemn us, but to save us. God, we thank you that we live in a country that we're free. So God, I just ask that a blessing and protection upon every person, men and women, who put themselves out there to run for office this fall. And I ask specifically for Mike and his family, God, to protect them, God, that you would just continue to bless them. Mr. Spicer for being here, bless him and his family as he's away. God, we were reminded, God, as you would inspire us tonight, inspire our hearts and minds, God, motivate our hands and our feet. God, as you say, you prepare the horse for battle, the victory rests in you, Jesus. So we ask that this next week, God, that we will be victorious as you lead and guide us through this election. Bless us through our bodies. In Jesus' name, amen.
For those that don't know, Matt Story is here with his family. He has one beautiful young girls, but he lives in the Shanty Township. I'm so proud of the work he does with Mike Kelly, our congressman, that he does each and every day. And it's a privilege to have him here, and somebody that works hard and trying to make sure we're legislative in a good direction. With that said, there's only two other things I'm going to do that we're going to eat. I have two people I want to recognize. Before I do that, if there are any veterans in the room, I'd like you to please stand. All veterans, please stand. Please remain standing. As I said earlier, there's no greater time that I take than the privilege we've just experienced with prayer, the privilege of doing the pledge and national anthem. Those things that are so dear to us that only come because those veterans have fought for our country, that died on the battlefield, so that you have that right and privilege, and no one should ever forget that. And it's a great privilege, and we thank you for your service. With that said, there's two gentlemen that stay in front of me that I got to know. I actually had the privilege of working in two military facilities, one in Newcastle and one in Beaver, the readiness centers. And Captain Scott Corral and First Sergeant Francis, I'm going to say, I hope I say it right, the camera. Those two gentlemen, the first day I showed up on the job, Francis walked up to me and I thought it was done right there. He looked serious, he looked like he meant business. Great Trump supporter. I had my Trump hat on. I commend you, made me feel so good to know there's a military and people like yourself that are leading our forces and doing the things we need to do to have a country that prides itself with freedom. And I thank you for being our guest today, honorary guest. Thank you. It's called the 101st Field Artillery. Did I say that correctly? We'll now break for dinner and we'll reconvene and have our formal program. Thank you. so much, somebody's not telling the right story. You can't have both sides. You go to court, somebody's right, somebody's wrong. You can't both be right. And it's the same thing with elected officials. With the news media today, it's so important to know what the facts are. And it was important for me to make sure that Mike Kelly's reelected. I think he does a great job. He's a guy, I love him more than anybody. He's a good man, a family man, a businessman. The essence of all the things that my dad raised me and my family raised and my family believes today. I've got 11 grandchildren in this community that are the future. 12 on the way, by the way. My daughter's pregnant, so I have a child. The oldest is 12, the youngest right now is 3, so it's a pretty condensed thing. So why I'm in business, my wife and my wife's running around looking because we're looking for a banquet manager. So if anybody's interested in a job, it's a good thing because I didn't get to enjoy it tonight. Now why do I bring that up? Well, today is Howard and I's 44th anniversary on October 26th. And just as all us good men know, we would not be where we are without a good wife. Without a woman beside us to lead us and keep us straight. And I can't thank my wife enough. You see her back there, everybody? You know, wave. Happy anniversary, sweetheart. We just got off a plane last night at about midnight. We got back home at about 2 in the morning. Well, I should say 1 in the morning. Got to bed at about 2. It was a busy day for us. But I'm so proud to be here, so privileged to be in this position, so that our community understands what's on the table. And when I talk about politics, you got to go right behind Kelly. Why do we need to keep him in there? We need to keep him in office because he believes in the same things you believe. Family, the trust of the military. He's been with Donald Trump the whole way. And that's important because we put Donald Trump in there. There's a reason Donald Trump's the president of the United States. It's not an accident. It's not a fluke. But if we don't make sure Mike Kelly's reelected and by his side take care of the things he needs to do, our community is not going to be represented. I was just informed by Matt, was telling me earlier, USA Today did a poll of all the elections across the United States. That's every election going on. And they picked 5. It so happens Mike Kelly's one of the 5 that they picked. And they said, and they quoted, that particular race, that the guy running against them, I know very little about, but they seem to like to put their signs next to yours. I think they like association. That it's probably the most misleading and the most lies about anybody that can say anything. Now, to me, that just goes right to the heart of it. I don't mind if you want to run for office and you have the right things in your heart that you say what you're going to do. But one thing I don't like is when you tell me what the other guy's doing. I can find out from the other guy what he's doing. I don't need anybody else to tell me what he does, what he doesn't do. And that's got to end. And all of us are here, we want to hear what the story is. Why do we want good people to be their representatives? You want to make sure they believe in the things you believe in. It's in their heart, it's in their soul. They've been successful in life. They want to run, they want to serve, do the right things for our communities. In his community in Butler, if you don't think that has consequences, if you don't think the Donald Trump election has consequences, if you don't think that this race where the judges ran doesn't have consequences, there's a man who lives in a strong town of Butler, which we're all familiar with, and he's only left with 1/3 of what he already ever had. How does somebody get in office and just change the dynamics, to change the politics, so that somebody's at risk because other people are so hungry for power and money and prestige at the expense of another? And I think if there's one thing I'm proud to say, I think as a Republican, that we're here to put the right people that have the right heart, that have the right motives, to do the right things for the country. And I think Donald Trump, along with the help of Congressman Kelly, they're could be prouder of them for what they stand for and the things they've done. And they've done so much. So the most important thing today, and you heard me talk about the military that died for you to vote, but make sure you vote. Make sure your voice is heard. If you sit back and you want to sit on the fence, then you're going to let whatever goes on because the other side knows what they lost. Why do you think they're saying and doing all the things they're doing? They know what they lost. And they know that this is their last chance. If you don't think the 2018 midterm election is important, and I can hear Donald Trump Jr. speaking in my ear, it's an election for Trump. If you think everything you've got today, if he doesn't sustain this next 2018 and get the people we need in there, you're going to lose everything you just gained in the last 2 years. A lot at stake. I'm going to let you pick up on how to introduce my friend, guy that I love here, The series you can be Congressman Mike Kelly.
Thanks, Gail. And Val, you're still here in the room. I just want to thank you for you all to be here that long. That's really unusual. And Sean and I were just talking at dinner about how we've changed as a culture in America. You think about that. But for both of you, congratulations. It's a wonderful life. I will take a minute to introduce a lady who's with me tonight, and people constantly get her mixed up, thinking that she's my daughter. And she's not. She's my wife. And I tell people, that can't possibly be your wife. I said, you know what? I'm in sales. I'm in sales, okay? So, I mean, if you would stand up, and she knocks on doors every day of the week, not so much because she loves me, but she loves this nation. She has been a remarkable partner. And we're coming up very quickly to 45 years together. 4 children. We lost one child between first, when my son George was born, and then we lost one, and then Brendan was born. And so, you know, the Lord always, he always takes care of us. When you go through that loss, you think that this is terrible. This is terrible. We waited so long, and then all of a sudden this happens. But then right away our son Brendan came along, and so diminish that. And we've all been through that. Every single one of us have been through things in our lives that actually shake us to our very soul. And we can do it on both knees. Because there are times we have to turn to the Lord because there is no other answer. And I think that's where we are as a country today. And I don't want to talk about us as a country because a country suggests a geographical layout. I want to talk about a nation. As a nation, made up of Democrats and Republicans, but more than anything else, made up of Americans. Americans. When we see what's happening today, especially for some of us that have lived a little longer than some of the younger people, and I know what the sacrifice was, that 1.4 million American lives that were shed in order to make sure that we can still be able to live the lives we have today. And we talked about our military, and I know they stood up, but I can't tell you, thank you so much for your service. It is an incredible sacrifice, but that's who we've always been. The other people I'd like to recognize right now are the children in the crowd. If you can all just stand up for a minute. Good. And don't be shy. I know what your age is. Like, oh, I don't want to do that, Mom. I don't want to do that, Dad. Stand up. I want people to see you. Because that's the reason we're really here tonight. This is a generational passing of the torch to the next generation. My mom and my dad made it through the Great Depression, made it through World War II, made it through the Korean War. Our generation came on board. We had Vietnam in faces regularly, and we had the Gulf Wars. But it's a dedication of generation after generation to the next generation coming that we always put ourselves in harm's way to protect them. Because we want them to have the same thing.
Understand that this is the challenge that faces our generation. Other generations have also been challenged, and never in our history Americans ever walked away from a challenge. They just don't. They rise to the challenge. And people say, well, that may be too much. How much you think about something? If there was a hurricane tomorrow, if there was a tsunami tomorrow, somewhere in the world, who would be the first responders? Americans. When Hurricane Michael came up to the Gulf of America, Gulf, where were the other guys? Who That's a real challenge right now. How do I talk about this? I want you to think about it not as a political party, but as a culture. And by that, I mean how people were raised, what we believe, what we know to be true. We know that this country is not an Judeo-Christian Baptist.
Is who we are. In every sense of the word. Forget the politics. Think about the culture. How have we allowed ourselves to change so dramatically? So dramatically. How have we been able to turn our back on things that we know are right? And we have things that we know are true. And all of a sudden say, no, that's not America. When did you ever think that the Pledge of Allegiance would be called into question? When? When did you ever think that practicing freely what your religious beliefs are would be called into question? When did you think that would ever see in America that has turned its back on the 1.4 million lives that were sacrificed to give us this opportunity? Never in my life did I ever think we'd get to this point. Now, we have a really important election coming up. I truly believe, and Gail talked about it, and Sean's going to tell you about it, I do believe that in America's darkest hours, when we really needed somebody to step forward, when we thought there was no tomorrow and no future, somehow there was a divine intervention. Somehow, somebody rose from nowhere and came in and took the reins and said, we are America, and we will not lose, we will win. We will never turn our backs. And so that's where we are today. I know people say, well, you get along with the president pretty well. I said, I get along with the president pretty well because I think he's doing so many great things. And he has changed the entire trajectory of this country in 21 months. 21 months. And I don't know how you look at it. And we use these terms today. I never thought we'd do this. Everything's hyphenated. You're Irish American, you're German American, you're African American, you're this dash American. No, it's American. It's American. It's a red, white, and blue American, by the way. There is no difference in our color of our skin. And there certainly is there's no difference in our dedication to what we know is right, what we know is true. But we know it all falls on elections to make sure that we maintain the energy level that we have, that we are on the same track in improving every single American's life, in every single way, every single day. The 21 months that we're talking about, you've seen a 180-degree change in the direction that America's going. We have never had more skies in front of us or stronger winds at our back. And it's all because we have somebody captaining the ship that knows how to navigate very difficult times and get us to the port that we're trying to get to. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I can tell you, we can take nothing for granted. The success that we are seeing today is fragile. The opportunities that we see today that we haven't seen in so many decades is fragile. The future of America is fragile. Our strength again around the world is fragile. America is no longer thought of the way it used to be. And I remember hearing a president that said, exceptional? Really? Americans, you think you're exceptional? We're not exceptional. Oh, maybe in the way that the Brits think they're exceptional, maybe in the way that the Germans think they're exceptional, or maybe in the way, and on and on and on. But not us, not, please. Don't think of yourself as being exceptional. Exceptional isn't something that you pound on your chest and say, look at us. Exceptional is when there's any trouble in the world, you say, we're showing up and we'll be there and we will shepherd you through this because we are the greatest country in the world and the greatest country in history. All because of our people. All because of our people. But I do mean this sincerely. Because I've sat in the House of Representatives for almost 8 years. I've gone there not to represent me, but to represent you. I've gone there not to represent my values, but to represent your values. I didn't go there for personal gain. I went there because people elected me to go and take to Washington, D.C. the values that we hold so near and dear to our heart in Western Pennsylvania, in the towns we grew up in. I don't need anybody from Washington, D.C. to lecture me on what I need to believe, because I've got it at the kitchen table. I got it on my knees, and I got it from parents and grandparents and uncles and aunts that shepherded us through life and told us the difference between right and wrong. And that's who we are. We've had switched, though, and we're divided among some ways that are so absolutely odd to me. We believe that we have the ability to govern ourselves. We have the ability to make the decisions that are in the best interest of our families, and our friends, in our communities, in our churches. We really believe that. We believe we can live lives as free people who make decisions that are in the best interest of our fellow citizens. We believe that. And we believe that if you unshackle us, if you let us do what we know how to do, and we're allowed to get to all the potential that we can through the grace of God and all those who came before us, we can actually build a country. We can actually build an economy. We can actually do things that nobody else in the world can do because we are so blessed as a nation. Now, on the other side, and I mean this, and I know we have some Democrats here, you know this, I'm an Irish Catholic. Sean and I were talking at the dinner table. We would go to my grandma Kelly's home after Mass on Sunday, and everybody would gather. Grandma, grandpa, aunts, uncles, cousins. And I joke about this, and I mean it sincerely. In my grandmother's dining room, there were two pictures, one of the Lord and the other of FDR. And they constantly got them mixed up. They actually thought that this guy was a God to them. I get that. You know what Irish Catholics believe? They believe they were the working people. They believe they were the blue collar. They believe they were the backbone of our communities. But so did the Poles, and so did the Slavs. And so did everybody in the church. They all thought of themselves that way. They thought of themselves very, very unique, with the same goals, the same values. My dad was the first Kelly to ever wear a white shirt to work. Now people say, "Oh, come on, that's not true." Yes, it is. My cousin Danny was the first Kelly to ever graduate from college. I was about 10 when he graduated, and I remember I was the next one in line, and they were all saying, "You better be as good as your cousin Dan." I'm 10 years old. What am I supposed to do? He's a senior in high school. God, I was only half his size. Now I'm twice his size now. So, but you know what I mean? We all go through this. There's nobody in this room, but I don't care what your last name is. I don't care where you go to church or where you sleep at night. We're all the same person. We are all the same person. So, the difference. We believe in ourselves. We believe in who we are. We believe that those who came before us and sacrificed so much, we are indebted to them. And now the torch has been passed to us. That's who we are. We're not big government people. We believe in ourselves. Right now, in the party, by the way, again, it was never Kelly that sat at the Thanksgiving table that would have said he or she was a Republican. Because you know what they believe? The working people were the Democrats. The rich people were the Republicans. That's what they believe. That's why I remember as a child growing up. I mean, I didn't know I was a Catholic. I was only a month old when I got baptized. They told me I was a Catholic. I didn't know I was a Democrat. They told me I was a Democrat. But think about it. That's how we all learn. When it comes to today, that party doesn't exist anymore. That party does not exist. If you don't believe me, please look who's heading it up. People that no longer try to hide the fact that they're socialists, they champion it. And elitists who look down their nose at other people and say, "You poor, stupid people. You don't know how to live your lives. Let us help you." So, I look at a party that says, "No, we're blessed by God. We have tremendous assets. We have tremendous potential. And most of that potential lies in the hearts and souls of the American people. They will get to the top if you leave them alone. The other side believes on their own you can't make it. And it has to be a government program. Seriously, it has to be a government program. Without the aid of a big government, you can't get to it on your own. You can't make determinations. You can't decide almost on anything. You certainly can't decide on things that we hold near and dear. Pro-life is a huge one. I never thought in my life that the most important discussion we would have is on pro-life. I said, how do you defeat that? It's just who we are. Second Amendment rights. All of a sudden, not the way to go. Overregulated, overtaxed, and overtold about what we can't do and how we can't do it on our own. That's not the party that I grew up in. That's not the party that my parents or my grandparents, my aunts or my uncles, they today cannot believe. That's the party that they grew up with. On the other hand, I will just tell you this, the Republican Party, we're the party of the working man and woman. We really are. Who protects their rights more than we do? Who does more to create jobs? There's 7.1 million jobs open in the United States right now, cannot be filled. Those are 7.1 million jobs. We are seeing an unbelievable growth in our economy. We're seeing an unbelievable growth in opportunities. We're seeing an unbelievable return to the most respected nation in the world. And the first responder, anytime there's a challenge out there. So I go with our dinners like this are incredibly important. And I just think, I want you to think tonight when you go lay your head in the pillow, think of all those 1.4 million people who died to give us this opportunity. Years ago, I was at my 50th class reunion, sitting around the table like this, and talking to I'm saying kids. Keep in mind, they're all my age, so they weren't kids. They still look like kids in my eyes, but I said, do you know how lucky we were to grow up in the town and the times that we grew up in? Do you know how lucky we were to have parents and preachers and teachers and coaches and extended families and shepherd us every step of the way? My gosh, were we lucky. And then on that table, everybody was going, you're right, except for one girl. And she said, so you really think we were lucky? I said, are you kidding me? Luckiest people in the world. I said, don't you think we were lucky? She said, absolutely not. We were not lucky at all. I said, you don't think we were lucky? She said, no. And I said, so okay, what do you think we were? She said, blessed. So never again will I use the term lucky when it comes to who we are as America. We are truly blessed. We are truly blessed. If you only had Sean Spicer here tonight, I'm going to tell you about a young man when the president went into office. And remember, the first press conference, he's the guy that has to stand out there, and he's looking at all the angry faces that couldn't tell the truth then, and they still can't tell the truth today. They completely disavow the resurgence of America. They wouldn't give President Trump credit for anything, other than if something goes bad, that's Trump's fault. As we walk the campaign trails, and I want to tell you how blessed we are to be in this district, overwhelmingly, the number of people say to me, listen, would you please tell President Trump we appreciate everything he's doing. Our towns are alive again. Our jobs are coming back. Our children are going to be actually able to stay in our hometown and not have to go someplace else because there's no jobs. There's jobs everywhere. There's opportunity everywhere. Please tell him we appreciate it. And then they go, nobody else heard that, did you? No, I'll say this. We are so afraid today as a people to stand up and say what we believe in because we think somebody else is going to come after us and say, I can't believe that's your stance on this. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I say, you know what? If it's right, it's right. If it's the truth, it's the truth. And if we need to celebrate, then we should celebrate the accomplishment of the American people and the triumphs that they are seeing today is because of the election of 2016. They chose who the next leader of the greatest country in the free world would be. The people chose Donald Trump. And Donald Trump, get out the list, he said what he'd do if he got elected. And people sat back and said, this guy, this fool, can't do these things. He's just telling us stuff. Get the list out. Start checking it off. And every time we check something off, the next thing on the list, they say, yeah, sure. Maybe so far so good, but the reality is he can't keep on this run. Next thing you know, check it off. Check it off. This election, I'm on the ballot, but you know who's really on the ballot? The President of the United States and the future of America. The America that we see right now. We can do this, but we have to do it together. The value of your vote, your dedication to this country, your thank you, God, and your blessing to all those who died to put us in this position are on the ballot too. It's all on the ballot. We need to keep our majority in the House. We need to increase the number of seats in the Senate so that we can continue on this wonderful trajectory that America has never seen in generations. It all is predicated on November the 6th, because it can change so quickly. In a country that we know and we love and we see in recovery, and all of a sudden goes by, we will have total chaos in the House of Representatives. Every day we'll start off as we have to impeach Trump, and we still have to go back after that Kavanaugh guy. He never should have been confirmed. The other thing we need to do, we can make sure our borders are open. We can get rid of those terrible, terrible people in ICE. And why can't the whole country be a sanctuary country? Isn't that who we are? Are we open to people coming here? I said, yes, my relatives came here. My ancestors came here. They came to El Salvador. They came through the right way. If the first act of you crossing into the United States is to break our laws, that is not a good way to start your citizenship or thinking you can be part of this wonderful, wonderful country. The United States is the one. And I will tell you tonight, you're going to be able to hear firsthand from a young man who has walked this walk, not just talk the talk. He has been with the president through this whole process. His time spent before is what makes him so qualified to be where he is today. The slings and arrows that he took in the first days of the Trump presidency, all because the other side couldn't accept the fact that Hillary didn't win. She's getting blessed everywhere. God help Bernie Sanders, he's got a really a thorn on their side because he had the audacity to say, I think I can be a bigger socialist than she. So listen, the man you're here from next, and I want you, if you can. Don't think of yourself tonight as a Democrat or a Republican. Think of yourself tonight as an American. And think of yourself as who you really are. And when you do that ballot box, the most important person in that room is you. And the most important vote that you cast is your vote. That's the beauty of who we are. That's the beauty of who we are. So, listen, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. For the last 8 years, you have been phenomenal. We have done things I never thought we could do. We have gotten so much done. There's so much more to do. But before I leave here, I want this young man standing right here, Matt Stroyer, to stand up with his beautiful wife, Andy, and their 4 beautiful girls, and his mother, Mrs. Schrader. Thank you so much for having me. He's phenomenal. You know, he's from here. He's from here. When I first got elected, they said, these are people you have to hire. I said, I don't know any of these people. There's one you're going to meet tonight. I said, who is this? Matt Stroyer. I said, who is he? Well, he's a guy, he's got his divinity degree, he's got his law degree, but he's not really who we need to hire. I said, no, why? Where's he from? They said, he's from Newcastle. I said, are you kidding me? That's exactly who we need to hire. I want somebody from home that people know and trust. So, Matthew, thank you so much. Andy, thank you so much. Mr. Sawyer, thank you much for being here, girls. Always good to see you. So well behaved and beautiful. If we can right now, please. The man who stood up on the first day of the presidency and came before that press, a very angry press, Sean Spicer has been a phenomenal American. Sean Spicer, please come up and join us. And thank you so much for being with us tonight. Please, Matt, thank you.
Thank you, Congressman. I appreciate it. If you don't mind, I'm going to not use the podium. Follow your footsteps. So try to stay away from those as much as possible. Thank you all for being here. It's an honor to be here and spend time with you. If you give me a moment, I'd like to tell you why, because you're probably wondering how people come here and say it's great to spend a Friday night in Western Pennsylvania that aren't from Western Pennsylvania. But it's actually a very special place in my career. I grew up as a working class Irish Catholic kid from a small town in Rhode Island. Not exactly the hotbed of Republican politics. If you follow Rhode Island politics, we've elected a few Republicans, but not many. And these days, definitely not. My parents worked hard. We sat around, we had dinner every night at 5:30, the TV went off, we talked, but it was never about politics. I didn't know the difference between Republican and Democrats when I was but we were very civically engaged, very part of the community. Just politics wasn't part of the dialogue. That was fine. When I was getting ready to head off to college, one of the teachers that was a mentor to me kind of knew how the ups and downs of our family's well-being had impacted me. And I sold everything that you could imagine as a kid. Greeting cards, whatever it took to make a buck. My dad really instilled that idea. If you want something, go out and earn the money and buy it. I had decided when I was a kid, there was a school in Rhode Island called Portsmouth Avenue. Back in the day, it was called Portsmouth Priory, which is when you have less monks. Really doesn't matter, but the reason I say that is when I was growing up, my grandmother used to say, all the smart kids go to Portsmouth Priory. I thought, okay, I'm a smart kid, so I'm going to go to Portsmouth Priory. Well, I didn't realize that it cost money. So I'll save you all the details, but the long and short of it is I get in the book, we apply for a lot of financial aid, I get some scholarships, my mother goes to work, because they thought, hey, if this kid's this serious about his education, we'll figure out how to pay for it. So we get the money, and I'll tell you the funny thing about Portsmouth Abbey, for the most part, is a boarding school. I was a day student. We traveled about 40 minutes a day on the public transportation bus to get there. But when I say I did everything to make money, at one point, I realized I'm around all of these really rich, elite kids who are away from home. I thought, what better way to make money than to send a letter to every one of their parents and say, I know you can't be with your son on his birthday, but for 50 bucks, I will deliver a cake to them. And then I went down to the local bakery in Portsmouth, Rhode Island, and made a deal with the baker that said, I'll buy X number of sheet cakes over the course of a year for 12 bucks. And so it was in this kind of spirit that the teacher realized that this is what I wanted to do. I needed to be successful. I didn't like that. He saw that I didn't like the feeling of what my parents were doing to finance my education. Well, I went off to school and he said to me, look, here's the thing. If you really want to excel, to do well, here's what my advice to you is. And this is back in the 80s. He said, go study Japanese language and get a degree in economics. I was like, okay, how hard can that be? So I got into college and lo and behold, we had a robust East Asian language program that was just, I started to take Japanese intensive language every morning. I'd get up 8 to 10 in the morning, I'd go to the language lab and study. Somewhere around February of my freshman year, I get a note in my little mailbox at campus from the Dean of Academics that says, please see me. And he explained to me very clearly that a D- in Japanese translates to a D- in English, and suggested that I find a different major. So I took a government course, and I realized that I still didn't necessarily understand the difference between Republicans and Democrats, but I didn't agree with this liberal orthodoxy that was being professed. And I started volunteering in politics. I started getting so involved. I went to the Connecticut State House. I got involved in local races. I would write letters to the editor, put up signs, do whatever it was. And I found a passion. This is what I wanted to do. I love this idea. You went out, and the first Tuesday after the first Monday, you either won or you lost. You exceeded those expectations or you fell short of them. But I love that idea. It was sort of like the same idea of being in sports, right? You know at the end of the game, did you beat your opponent or not? Did you fall short? But you can, when you lose, it doesn't go up in the middle column like try really hard. It's a loss. And that was the thing about politics. You went out and you fought it out and you won or you lost. And so I found this calling. I was like, I gotta be involved. My first paid job was as a field staffer in Connecticut's 2nd District where I was going to school. On the Sunday before the Sunday of Election Day, we were down 12 points according to the London Day poll. On election night in 1994, we lost 2 votes. After a 6-month, whatever they want to call it, investigation by the House Administration Committee down in Washington, they put it as a 21-vote loss. it made me realize the importance of every vote counting. We lost a crucial seat that night. Well, anyway, I had been involved, I did another campaign, but I really started to want to get involved in the media and the press, because now you actually got a daily fight, right? Did you get your story out? Did you? Did you kill the story? Did you change the narrative? Did you get your quote in? Did whatever, but you knew every day. I loved it, the thrill and the excitement that got translated down to a daily basis. But here's the problem, Congressman Kelly knows this better than anyone. How many press people do you have working for you? One. So here I am, 20 years old, office to office, sending out letters, going to these meetings. Hey, you're a nice guy, you're really energetic, we love the enthusiasm, great. But I got one spot, and you have no experience. So until you get experience, I'm sorry. Well, the pollster from that first race calls me up and says, you still want to get involved in managing races and get some press experience? I said, yeah. He says, guess what? There's a guy who's running for Congress in Western Pennsylvania. It's a crowded primary. He's probably going to lose. And if he does win the primary, he's going to get crushed in the general. Are you interested? And I said, yes. So I packed everything I own into my mother's Chevy Astro van and drove to Washington County, Pennsylvania. And 10 weeks later, the candidate dropped out. But I had experience. And immediately, one of Mike's colleagues, Frank Loviando, calls me and says, hey, I'm looking for a guy who's got press experience to run a campaign. I was like, oh, I do. So I moved to New Jersey, and there began a career of moving up the ranks between campaigns and on the official side, working for various members of Congress for the next 10 years. But if it wasn't for my time in Western Pennsylvania, I would never be where I am today. So it is truly an honor to be back a little bit north of where I get my political start. And so I thank you and the people here for those 10 glorious weeks. But the interesting thing is, in the year 2000, I got a call. There was a guy named Clay Shaw. He was almost a 20-year incumbent. They said, Sean, Clay's in trouble. Now, Clay's district, just keep this in mind for those of you who can remember the year 2000, was Palm Beach, Broward, and Miami-Dade counties. His district was 3 miles wide, 93 miles long. It wasn't a tough district to go to. But Clay had been in a long time, was facing his first serious challenge. And on election day, I got a call from the folks in Washington, D.C. They said, thanks, you worked really hard, we appreciate it, let's grab a beer when you get back. What are you talking about? You're going to lose. The numbers are clear. I said, I'm sorry. We've been out there every single day knocking on doors. I know what you guys might see in the numbers up there. We're seeing something very different on the ground. We've pulled this thing even. I think we're going to win today. Election night comes. We won by 386 votes. We didn't stop. And to use a phrase that Mike Kelly uses all the time, we ran through the tape. We didn't stop. And it made the difference. There was also this other guy on the ticket, Miami-Dade, Broward, Bush. He had a really close race too in those 3 counties. And that began for me the real transformation. Once that happened, I got to move and start working in the national party, the national politics, get involved and be part of something very unique. And as we got into the 2000 election, I had stayed at the RNC for 3 terms, which is unprecedented. But what we had done is we had built this operation of data and technology on the ground like never before. And finally, what I believe created this transformational part of Republican politics. We really start to hone in on how we can talk to and contact voters and communicate them with in a way that we know that who we're going to have on election day. And so we got into the 2016 election cycle. We had 17 amazing candidates. And by the way, I'd like to remember, those are the people you know. There was over 100 Republicans on the ballot. So these 17 candidates we're blessed with. We've got Jeb Bush with this amazing donor network, Ted Cruz with this data operation, Scott Walker, who had won 2 terms as governor and picked up the support of all these union voters and working class men and women and really showed us. I mean, the field was amazing. Then you had a guy with 10 staffers and a Twitter account in New York. Fast forward to the Indiana primary in May, Trump's the nominee. And he comes down to Washington, D.C. with the whole team comes down, we sit around this fourth floor conference room of the RNC. And the way I like to tell this, and it took a while to crystallize this, it was like, for those of you who remember the old BC peanut butter commercial where the chocolate falls in the peanut butter and someone goes, wow, it tastes good together. The RNC had always played this role with the federal campaign to be the resource provider. To be honest, the JV team. They would look and go, okay, we need you, and you. And do these 5 projects, keep your mouth shut. That's what the job of the National Party was in a presidential year. But Trump's team shows up and says, we don't have any fundraising operation, we don't do opposition research. We've got about 5 people on the political side and really nobody on the communications team. I was like, well, I have 70 people that work just for me. And they said, well, let's partner up. Now in 2012, I swear, I'm convinced myself that Mitt Romney knew who I was. Or at least he would nod in my direction when I walked by. That's the relationship that we had. But here I am now flying around the country with Trump on the plane, talking about what we should be doing, what our tactics should be, what should happen. It was this unbelievable rise that I never thought was possible. We headed to election night, and I got some of those same kind of calls that I talked about from the 2000 race. Good job. I hope you and your wife get some time off. I hope you take a vacation. You guys have really tried hard, you gave it your all. And I said, well, here's the interesting thing. All this money, $175 million that we invested in data and people is paying off. Because we had realized that there was about 6% of the electorate in each of the battleground states that looked very similar. We called them the downshifters. So these were the people that were your high propensity Republican voters. These are the folks that vote like religion. You don't even have to tell them. We know where the election is. I've cast my absentee ballot. I'm going out there. These are the guys that we put in the bank every year. They would never vote for a Democrat. They would never vote for Hillary Clinton, but they had a problem with Donald Trump. So the political team, through a series of focus groups and research, made a bet that if you could actually make this a binary choice, get them out there, a ballot either early, absentee, or in person, by an overwhelming majority, they vote for Trump. The race came down between them understanding that choice. What the differences between the 2 candidates, what the policies they would be, that as much as they might not be comfortable with some of the Trump style, they would get it and they would vote for Trump. We predicted a 0.2% vote margin rate in Michigan. We were off. We won by 0.3. We won states like Michigan, Wisconsin, and Pennsylvania. And I say all that because it's important for people to understand how getting out and voting matters. Right now, we head into every 2 years, every politician elections. This is the most important election. You've got to get out there and vote. This election is the biggest one of my lifetime. I actually think they're right this time. And I'll tell you why. If you've got your program, it's probably not a good idea for a speaker to say this, but look at this program. Go to the middle of it. This is a partial list of accomplishments that Mike Kelly started talking about. Just think about this. Trade. How many presidents, Barack Obama and Oscar Goldman talked about, we're going to renegotiate NAFTA. And everyone said, oh, just like you said, oh, can't do that. Just did. You can't renegotiate the Korea U.S. free trade agreement. Did it. You can't bring back coal. You can't bring back all of this, all of these industries. They're gone. Really? I've been driving around here a little bit. It looks like people are doing pretty well now. This is a president who's kept his word to the American people. He's gone out, he's fought for the American people, he's fought for middle-class Americans. And it's having results. Just this morning, last quarter's GDP came out at 3.5%. Followed on last quarter's 4.2%. When I got into the White House and we started talking about 3% growth of the budget, the media said that we were cooking the books. Now we're talking about sustained economic growth of the year over 3%. Well above where it was during the last few years of the Obama administration. Unemployment is at 3.7%. I don't have to tell most of you because if you had a brother or a boss living in your basement, they've moved out and found a job. People are living better lives, they're making more money, but it's only because this president got elected and then has a Republican Congress to work with. All of the things that are happening are because of the outcome of the last election. That's what's at stake. It's not just whether or not Mike Kelly gets reelected. It's about whether or not we continue these policies. The president will not work with Nancy Pelosi won't work with Donald Trump on anything. There was a bill called Right to Try. I don't know how many of you heard of it. Didn't get a ton of national news. The president signed into law. And it basically says, if you are terminally ill and there is something out there that may help you, you have a right to try it. To give you hope, to maybe that drug or treatment isn't completely clear through the FDA. But if you're willing to try, okay, we'll let you try. Who could be against that? The Democrats. Honest to God, I don't get it. But they are so hell-bent to not give this president a win that they would stand in the way of something as simple as that. That's where we are right now. And so, if you look at the nominations, if you look at what the president's doing to stand up to life, to stand up for religious freedom, to stand up to cut taxes, to stand up to make sure that we cut needless regulations, all of these things are happening because he got elected and he's got a Republican Congress to work with. And so, when you come to an event like this, it's tough. You're here, it's Friday night. You paid money, you're spending time away from your family, your friends, because you want to be here to support Mike Kelly, you want to be here to support the other Republican candidates. But you're the choir. We got you. And so, first, thank you for being here. Thank you for what you do for the party. Thank you for what you do to make sure that Mike Kelly gets back to Congress. But I'm going to ask you a favor as we walk out tonight. Because it's true. If the Democrats win, all that's going to happen, C-SPAN will take a fourth channel and it will be focused entirely on investigations. That's all they're going to do. We have a record of accomplishments and results. Their agenda is impeachment and investigations. And I can tell you, whether or not you live in Northern Virginia or Western Pennsylvania, neither of those two things will help your life. And so that is the big difference that's happening right now. In the Senate, we have an opportunity to pick up 4 or 5 seats. The good news that I bring you tonight is this. The wind is at our back. We're going 1, 2, 3. They are going 3, 2, 1. In the Senate, the Democrats had 4 targets for 4 Republicans. Nevada, Tennessee, Texas, and Arizona. 2 months ago, they had a shot at 3 of them. I think that they would argue Texas, and now Ted Cruz is up well over 10 points, and as much as ABC and NBC have been trying to make a phrase, it's never going to happen. They've lost those. We're going to hold them all. Now we're on the march. We're going to win South Dakota, win Indiana, we're going to win West Virginia. We continue to go forward. We are picking up seats in the Senate. And if you don't think that matters, let me tell you something. For everyone who wonders what difference that makes, we have 2 Supreme Court justices, and we have more circuit and federal court appellate judges than ever before. They are young, strict constructionalist jurists that are going to protect the Constitution going forward. That alone is a massive accomplishment for this president. But it took a Republican Senate. When it comes to the House, we have a 23-seat majority. There are 44 of Mike's colleagues not running for re-election. That's a lot of money and time and people to cover. Because if you're not seeking re-election, you lack the name ID, the infrastructure that a campaign and that incumbency carries with it. That's just a lot of area to cover. So the good news, though, is that they picked up these 23 seats. Virginia's 10th district, Barbara Comstock. She went from down 8 to +1. Mimi Walters, California 45, down 8 to up 4. It's happening over and over and over again. But California and Pennsylvania are ground zero for them. So much so, as you all know, that they had the state Supreme Court jump in and say, hey, let's see what we can do to help the appeal to you. But this is where they think they're going to pick up the majority. And so the ask I have of you is this. Thank you for being here. Thanks for what you're doing. Take a sign home. Post something on Facebook, Instagram, tweet something. Get on the phone, knock on a door, whatever you have to do to talk to your friends, your colleagues, your relatives. But for all of those folks who don't normally turn out in a midterm election, we need to make sure they understand what's at stake. And Mike's right, it's not comfortable these days sometimes having these discussions. Because they make us who are standing up for our country or standing up for our values feel uncomfortable that it's not the popular thing to fight for. But we're here tonight because it is. It's the right thing to do. It's the right thing for our country. But we've got to be willing to engage those folks. You're here today because you care. You care about Mike, you care about this party, you care about this country. But if we don't go out there and knock on those doors and talk to our relatives and talk to our colleagues and talk to our neighbors and explain to them with the same fervor and passion and intensity that we got out last cycle, then we may have a Speaker Nancy Pelosi, a Chairman Maxine Waters, a Chairman Adam Schiff. That's what's at stake. Those are the people that will be in charge. They will not work with Republicans to name post offices. They will do everything they can to put the agenda and a full stop. But as I said, the beauty of this right now is in every single race, in every single country, in every single county that I have been in, the wind is at our back. The question is, how much running room do we have? How much time do we have left? And so I implore you to go out and do every single thing you can in these remaining 11 days. Pick up that phone and knock on those doors and explain to people what's at stake. Drag them to the polls, follow up with on election day, but make sure that we don't wake up on that Wednesday after that Tuesday and say, I wish I had made those 5 calls. I wish I had knocked on those doors. Because we need to send a message that Mike Kelly's going back to Congress and this agenda is moving forward. God bless you. Thank you for having us.
Stand up. They're in charge of our committee. And your other committee members, please stand up. Please stand up. She's done a lot of work. It's nice to have her here. We do have a special theme tonight. And it's what's the theme? See, you're used to that. See, I wanted to see if you were a real fresh guy. You ran with that pretty quick. What you don't know that is Donald Trump supposedly said he had the magic wand, right? But tonight we have the magic wand. We have one right here. Paul put them in all over the table, the magic wand. So, you know, it's important sometimes. I believe this country's blessed, just like you said. We were blessed to be here. I'm a working guy, worked hard, blue collar workers. That's who I'm for. I still employ trade with. I'm a carpenter by trade. Work for many people in this room. Never forgotten where I come from. And we fight for politics to put leaders in our community to make a difference in your lives and your children's lives. Can't say it any clearer to hear that message from Congressman Mike Kelly. We're going to make sure he is blessed, and we're going to sprinkle him with a little magic wand that he's going to win by landslide. But no, it's special to be here. And being a builder, I've been blessed that way. As I said, I'm a carpenter by trade. I forgot where I come from. This place is kind of unique, and Newcastle is very unique. You should remember, 1911, Newcastle was the #1 growing industrial city in the United States. So where U.S. Steel was found, we had the tin mill, and China, with many industries here, where there was a melding of the immigrants from various countries, from 5 or 6 different countries. And because of that, if you look next door, I've been blessed, and And we just added on an addition. It was built from some of the architectural remnants from 1911. It was a place called the Elks Club. Many of you are familiar with it. We built the brewery, CR Brewing Company that we opened up. And from the monies that Trump's going to help me pay back the loan for. Yes, cut my taxes. That'll be very helpful. But what's important about that is you never forget your history. Just as you have a history, you took the shots, you covered the bases. You're a military man. I know a lot of people, I saw you stand up, and a lot of people didn't know, as I didn't know, that you went to college, the U.S. War Academy College, so we went to War College, if that's correct. And you also were a commander in the Navy in the reserves. And I think that's important, because I told him when he served, I never heard about his military background. That tells you the type of man he is. He took it on there, you made a difference, you did the hard work. But from our area, we have a place called Window August Ford. There's a small gift from you from our area. It's handmade in our area, the place that makes it. I want you to have that. But I want you to remember, you're in the place that will train us. We have the magic wand. We're blessed. We used it. We passed it on. We told you about the history. So whenever you come past Newcastle, we go remember us and come back here again, and we'll be sure to watch you on whatever channel you're on. And we thank you. We thank you for your service. God bless you. I always remember when you hear us talk about we're Americans. That's a great theme. And as Americans, yeah, we have Democrats, we have Republicans, we have independents. Anyone thinks there's any doubt, if it wasn't for the Democrats, Donald Trump would not be president of the United States. So I think Mike Kelly said it right on the money. First, we're Americans. But what happened, something went astray, and I have to say it. I always call it the 3 Ds. And not all people fall in this category, but there's a 3D out there. It's a deny, a deflect, and a divide. And everything certain socialist liberals do, not the good American Democrats, nor the Republicans, because we each have our own issues. Where the heck did that come from? Be Americans first, join together, fight for what's right. And we need to make sure Mike's back in it, because if we don't make sure he's our congressman, take care of our area, and you saw what they did to his district. He's his hometown, they divided it by 3. It can't get any uglier than that. And he's still going to win, and we're going to do our part. Orange County is a big difference. It's going to make a big difference in that. He needs those votes, every vote counts. So I also want to recognize when the Orange County presented that gift to you, and we had some officers, I want them to stand. We have Bill Mesner, our vice chairman, Leslie Butchie, our treasurer, Karen Halp, our assistant treasurer, please stand. Patty Jenkins, our secretary, assistant secretary, Jerry Herman, and I mentioned our dinner co-chairs, Paula Prentice and Karen Howe. You can't thank them enough for what they've done, because many times we have not had that privilege. For state committee, we have Lynn Ryan and Matt Story. Now Matt was just elected state committee here, so we're proud to have him on board, and what a gift that is. Lynn Ryan, we have Lynn Ryan, but we also have our president, Dick Flannery. Is he still over there? Dick Flannery was with us earlier. He's a past state committeeman, and my wife, Valerie Measle. But if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have to do this. That's your fault. When I met my wife, just so it's worth saying, is since it's our anniversary, it's only worth repeating. When I met her father was very strong in politics, very strong Republican. And when I met him, he said, look, and I asked to marry her. He told me, well, you know, that's fine, but you have to run for committee and be involved in politics, or forget it. And that was back 1974. So I've been a committeeman a long time, so as long as I'm a committeeman, even though he's come to pass, that guy had a fire in his belly. He's a hard-working carpenter. My dad was a carpenter, my grandfather was a carpenter. All good men that made a difference and wanted good people to elect, and that's unusual coming from the building trades. So those are important things to remember, Valerie. This time, a couple other things. I was just Linda come up. We want to recognize a few of our candidates that are here, some of our elected officials. Her and I are going to do that together so we don't miss anything. Matt, you can come up with us too, since you're state committee. Come on up here, man. And we'll make sure we cover everybody, because we have to speak for some people that aren't here. But we want to make sure you know who they are and what's going on with them. We want to take the ones that are here.
Okay, so I just real fast, I want to throw some numbers out there, just really fast, and I don't want to leave. We used to be 4-1 in Lawrence County, registered Democrats and Republicans. We now, as of the primary, we're within 2,400 registered Republicans. So we're still behind, but we're not 4-1 anymore. So in the last election, Lawrence County had 11,000 more votes for Donald Trump than we had for Hillary Clinton. So there are a lot of people who talk our mind. So get out there and tell all your friends that were Trump supporters that they still have to get out there and vote for the Trump America First agenda. Also, the 3rd Congressional District, which is where, we used to be known as the 16th, but during the Trump election, he won the state by 65,000 votes. He won the 3rd Congressional District by 90,000 votes. So if we all hadn't done our part and got all of our buddies in Western Pennsylvania to go out and vote, he may not have won the state. So while tonight Scott Wagner is in Philadelphia, he's working really hard trying to get the inner city vote out, and he's got Diamond and Silk in there to try to promote the black vote and the African American inner city vote. So we need to support him. He would have been here, but he's trying to do that. So he's for zero-based budget, no sanctuary cities, and abolish the school tax, which is huge in Lawrence County, especially in the city of Newcastle. So we have to get that word out there to all of our Democratic buddies. Also, for Lou Barletta, I've known him pretty good since the RNC when I was a delegate, and he's really been sucker punched lately. His brother got an infection on his toe and died 2 weeks later. He died the Sunday before, the 7th of October, when we had the Erie Trump rally. And a month and a half ago, his 18-month-old grandson got diagnosed with cancer. And so last week, he was in Lawrence County, came to our farm, to our business, and some of you were there, and I appreciate you coming. But he wanted to cry. I mean, it was really pathetic to see him, because that day or the day before, Casey had come out with an ad running that he wanted to eliminate pre-existing conditions, and that he voted for pre-existing conditions to be eliminated, which is basically giving his grandson no insurance. So we really need to do everything that we can to support Lou. He has supported this president. He was one of the first ones in the House to support him. He is totally for the America First agenda, and he will vote for the Supreme Court if he gets in the Senate. He will vote right along with Donald Trump's suggestions. So we really need him to win this race. So anything that you can do statewide to help these two men win these races, you know, they really are for everything that the Republican conservatives stand for, and for President Trump. So on their behalf. And I would also like to remind the homeless, we have 564,700 homeless people in this country right now that we know of. That's what we know of. And all of these Democrats are worried about this Caribbean of people coming from South America. So, you know, use these talking points when you try to convince people to vote for these candidates to support it. Because no one wants to open borders and this influx of illegal immigration that's happening. So those two statewide races that we have, that's their huge agendas. Is Lou Barletta was the first mayor in this country that took a case to the Supreme Court fighting for illegal immigration. And he told the Newcastle News last week, or Nancy Lowry was like, it's really strange that we're getting all of these big politicians here right now, and what's the change? And he said, well, you know what? I'm from a small town, and I know what it's like to fight big government, and I'll be back, not just during election season. So, you know, like I said, right now, the poor guy's had a lot on his plate personally, but we need to do everything we can to get him to Washington. And of course, Mike Kelly, you know, who speaks for himself. So, thank you.
we're almost done 8:15, Gail, so we'll get it up. Thank you. Just real quick, obviously our Republican candidates and our state senator, state rep, Elder Baldwin, we gave you the elder and our state senator here. Our state rep, Mark Wendley. Aaron Bernstein, I don't know if he's here, but Aaron as well. Our commissioners, Commissioner Dan Vogler here as well. There he is, Commissioner Dan. Commissioner Del Sigmar, he's not here as well. Good. There he is. There's two gentlemen in the ballot next year, so we'll be there to fight for you as well. We have a state rep candidate, Greg Mahan, if you would stand as well, Greg. If I'm missing anybody else, I think we're good. So we're almost there. We're almost there.
So a couple things before we get you out the door. Sean has graciously accepted that for those that want to buy a book, an autograph, we're selling them for $15. For $25, you're going to autograph the book and give it to you. We have 200 copies here. So if you haven't gotten a book, and it'd be a privilege to have Sean sign them, he's offered to do that for us. Those books from our donors, we're going to use that money to give to our candidates. Everybody needs to understand my job as your chairman is to make sure I put money in the hands of those that got to run for office. Because what's it cost to run for Congress now, Congressman Kelly? $3 million. So there's only one place to get that money, and that's from the people that support him. And so, you know, he's a guy we want to put some money behind, because we want to make sure he's there to take care of us, and that we're continuing to be blessed. So after dinner, feel free to go over here, Sean. For those that want to buy a book, you can just get a book for $15 for $25, get it autographed, and that's a special take. If anything I ask, and I told my wife I would, I'd make sure I get a book signed by you since it's our anniversary, make sure I got one with a picture. So I don't want to miss that opportunity when I'm done. Yeah? Then we're going to call up Michael Stephan, come up here and give us a benediction.
Pray together. Father God, we experienced a miracle a couple of years ago. You came forth, moving on the hearts and the minds of people to come against the forces of evil that have stirred the minds of many. And Father, you have had a mark on this nation for centuries, a place where truth and life and power and goodness could come forth. Now, Lord, you have changed the course of history, and you have moved the minds of kings and leaders. Move your Holy Spirit upon this nation and touch the people that they might see, they might know, and that they would rise up and stand for what is right. That we would turn away from this time when good is proclaimed as evil and evil is proclaimed as good. You said that time would come. But Father God, move, breathe on this nation, and continue this reconstruction that has begun. Bless every candidate. Let your anointing flow. And Lord, bring victory to your cause. We ask it in Jesus' name. Amen. Amen.
Thank everybody for your support. It's a country founded under God. We've truly been blessed as a nation. Remember, exercise your vote. And I can't thank everybody enough for being here. God bless you and safe travels home.
You could spend the night waiting for a Prince Charming to come along. Tall, rich, and handsome, with sensitive and strong. Take a look around at all these guys. Judge them all with your critical eye. I got a feeling